down today to another kerfuffle interview here with one of the Depository's many happy clients. I'm saying, assuming you're happy, otherwise this is going to be a really awkward 15-20 minutes. I should have established the fact you were happy beforehand, but I've got a pretty good guess that you are going to be giving us some positive feedback here. Sam Olliver, wonderful to have you on here today from Michael Jones, fantastic business there. Would you just give a bit of context about yourself, your role at the business, size of the business, just so people understand what Michael Jones is all about?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm an associate director at Michael Jones. I look after the property management side of things, and we've got a hub for our property management and letting side of the business. We've got around about 2,000 properties under management, and we haven't got a traditional model when it comes to the property management team. So it'll be different than your standard setup.
How does it differ, without giving away any trade secrets that you'd have to kill me over? What are the main differences?
So we've got kind of departments within the department, so to speak. So we've got a maintenance team, an introduce and checkouts team, inspection team, and they each have someone that heads up that team and looks after it, makes sure it's running.
My understanding there is you've really gone for the specialisation route then. You're looking at people, yeah, okay. So everyone's got a clear job, clear responsibility, and you believe you can get more out of them by managing them in that way, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, well, you've got 2,000 under management, so you must know what you're doing. Unless you're going to tell me you had 3,000 last year, in which case this is a disaster.
I'm not going to say that. No, it's all good. Yeah.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. If that's so, it's a really. I know Michael Jones obviously very well because my old Repeat days and everything else there. You've obviously just established there really great credentials on the letting side of things as well. Just give us, if you can remember, how long have you been using the Depositary, and do you remember what it was that first attracted you to them in the first place?
Yeah, well, we signed up with Depositary July of last year. And going back to the fact that we've got that split team set up, obviously what we don't have is the resource to ensure that, if you know what I mean, each team has got to manage the workload. So obviously with introduce and checkouts and the deposit sort of deduction and negotiation side of it, it's quite drawn out, and obviously you can't put a time scale to how long that process is going to take. So Depositary fitted in quite nicely because it took the emotion out of the situation. It's quite an emotional time for a landlord and tenant. Yeah. Landlord getting the property back, tenant with obviously wanting to ensure their deposit comes back. So that was kind of the aim, was to try and get straight down to the facts of the matter, the inventory, the checkout. And like I say, it just to take the emotion out of the equation. So, and
did you from the beginning believe that was what it was going to be, or did you kind of discover that actually taking that emotion out of the process was just a fantastic byproduct of the efficiencies of the system itself?
I think from having had the demo, it did seem that it was very much to the point in terms of, as I say, what was identified at the beginning of the tenancy and at the end. So I saw it as a way to streamline that process a little bit more. Landlords and tenants can have as much access as they want to the content that's on the portal, or none at all, as some of our landlords have. We just communicate the information to them off the back of it. So yeah.
So you can control that element of what they can see and can't see.
It's not so much control, but it's a lot of our landlords want to know from us first and foremost. They're not so they're not the types to log in and check the information themselves. So we found it more beneficial from the tenant side of things. Tenants waiting for that money to come back, obviously moving on to another property, and it just meant they knew, based on what the status was at the time, where we were at with the process.
Well, yeah. Okay, and as with all of these products, obviously, they can be fantastic in their own right, but if you don't get the onboarding right, then it can be a tricky start, can't it? What was the experience with you guys getting on board with the Depositary? How did that side of things work out for you?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. We use quite a lot of third-party software, and some aren't great. They're very quick at driving you into taking the product on in the first place, but it's the sort of the onboarding that's where it falls apart. But Carla has been the person we've dealt with mainly. She's been great getting it to work for how we're set up, making sure templates are right. So yeah, it was pretty smooth, to be honest.
Can you quantify that in terms of how long it would have been before the team felt you would say were really hitting the floor running with the application? Was it a case of a matter of weeks, months? How long did it?
It was about a week and a half, 2 weeks,
Wow.
I would say. It was very quick. I'll be honest with you, just, one of the main guys that deals with that side of the business, the deposit returns, he wasn't overly keen to start with. I think it's that whole change element. He absolutely loves it now. He's seen the benefits of it, of what it does and how it's helped him to go through that process, not quicker so much, but just more efficiently.
Yeah, when I was a fresh-faced Peter Pan-esque character, we used to talk about those people as being a bit more traditional. Yeah, so that's a really important element, isn't it? Because there's a lot of people who've been in this game for absolutely years. You're quite right. If you remember back, people on the software side of things, they used CFP for literally decades because it was tried, tested, it worked for them there. So sometimes there can be the biggest thing you can experience is the change culture, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So to have somebody like that actually be honest about it and come vault face and say, actually, this is a fantastic, it's probably one of the best testimonials you can ever hope to get as a software provider.
Absolutely. I reckon he'd cry if I took it away now.
That's even better. That's fantastic to hear. So how would you sell this to other agents then, Sam? If you were trying to determine what the key strengths are, you spoke about that, taking the kind of emotion out of it. Are there other ones you can think of outside of that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we all know that if you can't get that negotiation, between the two, it's going off to arbitration, it's going to TDS.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is you spend a little bit more time in the beginning putting the information into the portal, but God forbid if it goes to TDS, it is literally a click of a button to push that through to them. So everything that's been plugged into that portal over the weeks in the lead up, it's all there, all the tenants' comments, all the inventory, the tenancy, all of those bits and pieces. So it's efficient for time. And like I say, I'll go back to that point. That's the part of the business that you can't control how long that process is going to take normally. So,
and dare I say it as well, if you're confident that actually all that work is going up front, isn't it? Going into if anything does go to arbitration, it's not a case of, oh God, I'm not sure how steady we are, because actually you will have put all the information in there and can be much more confident from the get-go, can't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in terms of arbitrations themselves, have you managed to reduce the? Obviously, there's a huge amount there, but I'm guessing you didn't have too many go in the first place. Has it had any effect on those numbers at all?
Yeah, the numbers are still really good. I mean, we were maintaining a good level anyway. Yeah. So again, you could look at it on the opposite side of things, that taking this on, there's always the risk that it could have gone the other way. And I was still maintaining a decent level of in terms of our dispute levels. Okay,
and what about, we spoke about the onboarding. How about the kind of the ongoing support, the training, the letting you know about new features, functionality, sort of that account management side of things? Is that as robust as it was at the first stage? Because I think you intimated a bit earlier, there are some suppliers who shall remain nameless who do have a kind of scram approach.
They signed up. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not been the case, I take it, with these guys. They keep working with you.
No, absolutely, yeah. In fact, only a couple of months ago, we jumped on a call with Carla because they've got some sort of upcoming features that they're looking to push out. So I think the nice thing is obviously their background being from having an agency themselves, you can really get that sense in products. Yeah. That's the problem with some of these third-party software, is that they're not developed by people that have done the job before. So
they live in an ivory tower like that I've got behind me here, sort of. Got the whole tech side of things, but haven't worked the business, have they? And that do you think that really is a sort of part of the secret sauce of Depositary then, that they've just got that innate knowledge because they've been through it and can be empathetic because of that?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? So a nice one to have. And you mentioned one of your colleagues there. Everybody else in the team, though, as well, took to the Depositary well, and because often you only go as fast as the slowest person, don't you? And there will always be super users, but actually, if you can bring the whole team, that can really start leading to some efficiency gains.
Definitely. I mean, before, there's always different ways and means of people doing that job, whereas now, because the process is quite, you have to follow the steps on Depositary. If one person or another does it, it's the same output, so we know exactly where we're at. So Yeah, I mean, it's been great in that respect.
So consistency is again another nice level there. With, you know, before it might have been much more down to an individual and about how experienced they were, but with the depository supporting them, everyone's levels are kind of raised.
Absolutely.
Okay, that is interesting. It's always quite difficult to quantify. Normally we fall back onto the supplier to kind of make the claims. But have you been able to witness any kind of specific kind of productivity or ROI results from using the depository? Have you ever been able to nail it down that accurately at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one purely for the fact that, you know, say one deposit return compared to another, they can differ in how long it takes. But, you know, the guys have got a number that I get them to work towards in terms of keeping it under a certain level over a period.
Yep.
And that's being maintained nicely. And I do put it down to the fact that, you know, we've got that streamlined process, and obviously depository fits in nicely with that, because that process follows on from the checkout through to when we return the money.
So it's very easy, isn't it? It's quite fashionable these days to have a bit of a sneer at prop tech. But from what I'm listening at you're saying there is, look, the right prop tech with the right people is pretty much you know, that's the right partnership, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. And just give us an overview then. As I said, thank you for your time here today. Give us an overview. Would you recommend them to others, and why? And clearly we're not going to make you recommend them to any of your competitors, but give us a clue as to how you would recommend them.
I think, like I say, the reason I would recommend them is purely for the fact that, as I say, for everyone involved, whether that be us or the clients, everyone's kept in the loop. I love the lead up as well. So when a tenant's coming to leave, you know, all of those flows of emails that go out to the tenant to say, don't forget to do this, don't forget to clean. So it's useful for them in that part of the process, because, you know, they know what's expected of them. So, so from that side of things, let's say efficiency, productivity, I can't see a business size where this product wouldn't fit in, if that makes sense. So even if you're just starting out, you know, I think that's the prime time to be onboarding it. But, you know, even when you get to an agency of our size, it's definitely worth plugging it in.
That's a fantastic point there to make there, because you're quite right. A lot of product suppliers fit into a particular niche. They will work well with an established business. Some don't work well for startups. But to have that kind of, you know, tick in the box where actually this is just a product that will help you whatever stage, as long as you're doing lettings and property management, is quite nice to be able to have that in your kit bag. And of course, when you get to your stage with the, you know, you get the economies of scale, don't you, as well, with the whatever efficiency savings come times by 2,000 is quite an exciting payback, isn't it, over a period of time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. So I've got to ask you for the tried and tested. We've heard the thumbs up there. How would you rate them in the traditional 5-star rated system? 0 for rubbish, 5 for 5-star brilliant. Where are you going to place them on the scale?
I'd say, I mean, there's always somewhere to go, isn't there? So I mean, 4.5 out of 5, I'd give them 100%.
Perfect. Yeah, you see, this is what I like. Tough measures there, but you've kept them on their toes as well. But a firm recommendation there from Sam Olliver there, Michael Jones. Sam, thanks very much for your time today. It's much appreciated.
No worries at all.
Thank you. Cheers.